Complete tutorial Victorian Lady doll, easy to make doll for your dollhouse. Hello everyone, welcome to Handmade Cutesy Miniatures, and today in this tutorial I will be teaching you how to make a handmade, one-of-a-kind, unique Victorian Lady style doll. She measures about 5 inches high. She is dressed in Victorian style clothing. She has feathers in her hair, and she has a nice hairdo style made out of wool. She has a hand-painted face, and lace and trim, and nice handmade sandals. So join me today in our tutorial. But first off, let's review this book, which is called The Miniature Family. It's a 1-inch scale flexible chenille figures. And it's a very neat book that was published in 1976, which features a variety of different characters that you can create for your dollhouse. These designs are really easy to make, and it doesn't take a lot of supplies, as you can see, to create this project. First off, let's just glance through the pages of this book, and you can see here a nice looking photo of some of the dolls that you can create, as well as directions and different photos and patterns that you can get out of this book. And this book was purchased on eBay a couple of years ago. So if you're interested in getting this book for yourself, I bought this book on eBay. And there's different sizes of dolls, as you can see. And there's a whole set of a family in the living room. And I just did this tutorial on the rug, so if you're interested, you can go back into my prior video where I showed you how to do the handmade braided rug tutorial. So here are just a couple of more pages, and you can see how great this book is and how many different characters you can create with just a few materials on hand. Now, a lot of you have a lot of different materials on hand, and it's great to just use up what you have, like scrap materials, different trims, and things like that. This particular face was done with the bread dough, and the bread dough recipe for the face and hands is in this book. And here are just the samples of some face styles and some hairstyles for your dolls, and it's all made with wool. And this is just a continuation of the directions for creating this doll. And here is the bread dough recipe for creating your face and hands. So it's a really neat book to have on hand. It's called The Miniature Family. So now let's take a look at the directions. You will need 2 chenille stems, and I've chosen white to use. The chenille stems measure 12 inches in length. And then I also bought this off of eBay. It's a set of wooden bead faces that come in a variety of sizes. For today's doll, I will be using a size 3/4 inch wooden bead. And here are some brushes that I purchased at the store. For only $3.99. And today I'll be using the script brush, which is a very thin brush, like a liner brush. And here are just the paints that I'm using and the varnish that I'm using today. Just different colors for the face area. So here is some floral tape that I will be using. also, and we will be using it to wrap the chenille stem to create our hands and our feet. And here are just some variety of glues that I'll be using today, as well as a paper clip I'll be using as an applicator to apply the E6000 glue. And just some glue gun. And a ruler, of course. And here we have a variety of scrap fabrics that I had on hand. I just used what I had and I tried to match the fabrics together within the same color pattern choices. And here are just some trims and laces that I had on hand. You can just use whatever trims you have on hand, and here are just some gold trims that I had. Some different ribbons. And here are some feathers of golds and oranges and maroon colors. And here is a neat little curly crepe hair. I bought this off of eBay and it's a really neat item, and I just wanted to show you what it looks like. It's wound on a twine string and it's a curly crepe hair made out of wool. And what is really neat about this is that you just pull it and it untangles into nice curly plush hair. But today I will be using wool hair. And here you can see how nicely it matches with my fabric choices. And here are the patterns for the outfit that she will be using. And I will be including a link in the description for this pattern set. If you want to follow along, you're welcome to download this pattern, which I will have on my website. So this is our guide for today, and this is the petticoat and the skirt and bodice patterns. First, we're going to take our 12-inch chenille stem and fold it in half. Push down at the center, and there you can see those are the feet, and that will be the head area. Put that aside and take your second chenille stem and fold it in half also, and push down at the center. Now at this second chenille stem, you will cut it in half, so you will have a 6-inch length of chenille stem. Take that 6-inch chenille stem and put it behind halfway, about an inch down this folded chenille stem, and then carefully wrap the chenille stem across the top and fold it back, and this will be your arms. Then once more, repeat the same step as the last by carefully folding the two arms over again to make it more secure. So those are the hands and the arms. Next, take some floral tape and you will cover this area here, and I'm just stretching it slightly. Now carefully wrap around the 1-inch area of chenille stem, which will be the neck and head area. As you wrap around the chenille stem, grip the tape firmly within your hand and pull steadily and firmly, but not too hard, or else it will break the tape. Continue to wrap the floral tape upwards to the very top. And don't forget to pull steadily and firmly as you go. Now go back down to where you started. So we will go back down, wrapping carefully around the chenille stem. This will form our neck area and head area. So when you're creating your project, think of the many different characters that you can come up with. You don't necessarily have to create a Victorian lady, but you can just use what you have and then create from there. So now I'm finishing off taping this neck area, and I'm gonna make sure it's nice and secure. And here you can see the two arms, the neck, and the leg area. Get your ruler out and measure about 2 inches in from the torso area, and you will snip it. And then do the same for the other arm. Measure 2 inches out from the torso area and snip it. So each arm will measure about 2 inches in length. Next, measure about 1/4 inch in for the hands and roll the chenille stems upward to form the hands or the palms. You will roll it once, and then you will do the same. Measure 1/4 inch inward and fold the chenille stem upward. These will form the hands of the doll. Next, measure in about 1 inch from the hand and do the same like you did for the neck area, and carefully take your floral tape and wrap it around your chenille stem. Now when you're nearing the wrist area, you want to make sure that you pull more tightly so that way you can secure it when it goes into that dip and it goes up towards the hand area. You'll want to build up the hand area more than you do the arm area, so that way it will look like the shape of a hand. And here you can see I just folded over the edge a bit, and now I'm going back down, rolling it around the hand and pinching it at the corners to make it more round in shape. Carefully wrapping it as you go, steady and firmly, pinching it back to form a curved shape of the palm and hand area. Now going back down through the wrist area and the forearm, going around, carefully securing it to the chenille stem. And you can see how our hand and arm area is being formed. It doesn't take much time. Now I'll be reaching my end soon. And I'm just gonna carefully wrap the tape all the way to the end, carefully shaping and molding the hand as I go. And I'm just gonna twist this around. And there you go. I'm just securely twisting it around, and now you see this little area. I'm just gonna trim it off and shape it more evenly to form the curve of a hand. I'm using some scissors here, some embroidery scissors. Now what I'm going to do is just build up the arm area just a bit more because it's looking kind of thin. So depending on the type of doll you want to create, you can do this as much as needed. And there you go, I'm done. Now all I have to do is complete the other arm. So here is my completed top part of the doll. I have my 2 arms and hand areas and neck area. Measure about 1.5 inches of floral tape and cut it off with your scissors. And we will be making the thumbs for our doll. Now carefully turn it over with the sticky side inward and roll inward until the very end of the floral tape. I use my thumb and forefinger to carefully roll inward upon the sticky side of the floral tape, rolling it all the way down until the end of your 1.5 inch strip of floral tape. Make sure you're rolling it nice and tight and just keep on rolling it within your thumb and forefinger to make sure the tape is nice and secure. So this will be your thumbs for your doll's hand. Next, take some scissors and cut this in half. Now that you have your thumbs for your doll, you will carefully shape your thumbs with your forefinger by gently pressing and molding the tape into a round, curved shape end like the shape of your thumb. So I'm just getting my forefinger and just gently pushing it inward. Now it's time to attach our thumbs to our doll hands. And I'm going to use E6000 glue. You'll need an extra strong glue to glue your thumbs to your doll's hand. I'm going to puncture a little hole into my glue. Before you attach your thumb, carefully push the inside and then dip it into the glue with your tweezers. And carefully attach it to the bottom half of your palm area. Push down gently and firmly and remove any excess glue with your tweezers. Allow this to dry and set. Next, do the same for the other hand. And here you can see the completed part of the hands. And next we will work upon our feet and leg area. Fold up about 2 inches inward from the bottom, and this will form our feet area. The next thing we will work on is on our feet of the doll. You will measure 5/8 inches in from the tip of the foot. So folding in about 5/8 inches in, we will make our first roll, rolling upward. Now do this a second time and rolling it upward onto itself. And you will see a little feet being made. So there is our first foot, and here is our second foot. Carefully roll up 5/8 inches up towards the doll's ankle. And here is our second foot. carefully adjust as needed. Next, we will work on the top part of the foot by carefully pushing down a bit to make a little curve. This is the toes. Carefully pushing down a bit, and do the same for the other foot. So here is our completed doll so far. Next, measure 1 inch in from the bottom of the heel to the leg area, and from that point you will carefully wrap your tape around the chenille stem. This will form the doll's leg, ankle, and feet area. As you reach the ankle, keep in mind of the angle of the foot. And you'll want to sort of pull your tape towards the foot area at a side angle and then gently work around the foot. As you get to the foot area at the end part, you'll want to fold down the tape. Next, I will go back up from where I started and carefully roll back the tape upon itself, working my way up to the leg again. So this will be forming the foot area, ankle area, and leg area. Carefully pulling as you go, making sure that the tape does not get too loose. And adjusting as needed. And here you go. This is all done. Now all I need to do is just flatten the foot area where the toes are, and then take my small scissors and just snip around the curve area to make it more like a foot. And there you go. So now I'm just taking my forefinger and gently molding it around. So now I will need to do the same thing to the other foot and leg area. Now you can adjust it by pushing it upon a flat surface to make your foot flat. And here's my finished result. Gently push it down to form the foot and to make it flat on the bottom and curve on the toe area. Now the next part is to paint our floral tape with our skin color. So I'm going to take my paintbrush and just apply the flesh color to all of the parts that are covered in the floral tape. Now you will need at least 2 coats of this flesh color, and you are welcome to paint your doll any color you wish. Today I'm using this light peach color. So once your first coat is dry, put on a second coat. Our next thing that we will do is paint the wooden feet to form the head of the doll area. So I just put this bead upon a chenille stem, and I'm taking my paintbrush and just doing a light coat. And then after this first coat is dry, I'll be putting on a second coat. So next we will be working upon the face of the doll. So here are the colors that I will be using for her face today. And here is the bead on my chenille stem, and I'm using a number 1 liner or script brush. These brushes are great for painting details. And here I'm going to be starting off with the nose of the doll by just doing an upward curve. Now in a downward curve, which is slightly larger, I'll be putting on the mouth of the doll. Then I will be adding the lips of the doll by working on the bottom half of the lip by just using a gentle sweeping motion, and then the top part is like an M shape. To give a highlight, I've added a bit of white to the tip of the pink color to give it some highlight. The next step is to paint the eyes of the doll, and I have just taken some plain white So here are the eyes. The next step is to paint the pupil of the doll. So here I've chosen green for the eyes. You can choose any color you want to match your theme. I'm just adding it in like a circle, and then I'm adding in the other eye. Next, with some brown, I am adding the center of the eye, just a little dot. Then I will be carefully adding in the top part of the eye to outline it. And here you can see what it looks like so far. Next, I will be adding in some eyelashes by creating a swooping motion from down going upward. And I'm just repeating the same thing, swooping down and upward in a curved motion. Next, I will be adding in the eyebrows. So here's the completed face for the doll, and this bead again measures 3/4 of an inch. So now I will be varnishing my doll, hands and feet and arms and neck. I'm using a gloss varnish, and it really gives it a nice porcelain feel. It makes it nice and shiny and glossy. and it adds a layer of protection. It also smooths out the little wrinkles of the tape. Now I will be taking my gloss varnish and doing the same thing, just applying it onto the doll's face. You'll need to do this twice for both of the head of the doll and the body of the doll. Next up, we will be taking some fabric of your choice and the patterns. Now again, the patterns, you can find it in the link below of the description. Now taking some folded tape, I will go ahead and apply it to the back side of my pattern. You can apply your pattern any way you want. This is my preference here. Or you can also trace your pattern with some pencil or pen onto your fabric. So now that I've got it taped on all sides, I'm going to choose the area that I want to stick the pattern onto, and right now I will be just cutting along the edge of the pattern. And for my pattern here, I've just printed it onto some thick cardstock so I can reuse it for a later time. And here is my first pattern. So I'll be doing this for my second pattern, which is the panel. So the two pieces we're working on right now is the petticoat pattern and the panel pattern. You will need to cut one of each. So now we will attach these two pieces together. You can either hand sew it or sew it on a machine, or you can just use glue. So today I will be using some tacky Eileen's glue, and just on the inside seam I will go ahead and run a strip along the edge, making sure to leave at least a 1/4 inch on the bottom section for the hem area, because you will need to turn it upward. So now I'm taking some tissue and just gently blotting off the excess glue and folding back my pattern to make sure the seams are nice and even. Now repeating the same step, I will go ahead and leave about a 1/4 inch border along the bottom for the hem and glue my sides up. And you can see how it will meet on this seam. So leaving about a 1/4 inch on the end, I will go ahead and glue from there and go all the way up to the top. This will form the skirt of the doll. So meeting the edges together, and then gently pressing the two pieces of fabric, taking any excess glue off with some tissue, and you can see what it looks like so far. Our next step is to fold about a 1/4 inch up off the bottom of the skirt. So the wider part will be the bottom of the skirt, folded upward about a 1/4 inch up for our hem. And this is to prevent the fabric from fraying. Carefully do this and repeat it on the opposite side and fold it upward. Glue along the bottom of the seam and fold upward a 1/4 inch. Now that we have our seams done, I am going to take my scissors and carefully snip off any excess on the sides. Then carefully, when the glue has dried, turn your fabric inside out and this will form the skirt for the inside part of your doll's dress. So here I have taken my doll and I've placed the heel of the doll against the bottom half, and I will snip off any excess so that the skirt will fit onto the doll. Next, I will take my bodice pattern, and you can see I will cut along the center cut line as well as the collar section. This will form the jacket of the doll. And I've also placed some pieces of tape that I'll be using to apply it onto my fabric. Carefully taking a scissors and cutting it out roughly. Then carefully cutting in on the edges of the pattern. Next, we will work on the front of the jacket, which is the opening, and then the collar area. Carefully peel off the pattern from the fabric. Next, I will take some tacky glue and apply it to the fabric from the inside area, leaving about a 1/4 inch hem along the bottom and top. Carefully apply the two sides together in half, and this will form the jacket for our doll. Next, take some tissue and just wipe off the excess. Now here is some trim that I'll be using today for my jacket. And I'm taking some hot glue and I just applied it to the edge of the front of the jacket. I'll be doing that to the opposite side of the jacket. Also, I will be folding the very edges in so that way the trim will not fray or come apart. And I will do the same thing to all the other sides. Next, we will put our skirt on our doll. Carefully put in your doll into the top part of the skirt. And then you will have to trim off a section of the neck area so that way your bead will fit onto the doll. Then you will take your piece off, and you can see here how I will apply my bead head onto the chenille stem. Next, take some hot glue and apply some glue onto the skirt in the inside part and carefully press it down. You will repeat this for the back side and the two sides of the skirt. carefully gathering in the edges of the skirt and pushing it against the chenille stem. So here's the last area that I will be gluing for the skirt. Next, we will be working on the outside part of our skirt. And this fabric will be folded against the floral fabric. So I'm just rough cutting the fabric out. And then I will be cutting against the edges of the skirt pattern. So again, if you would like to download this pattern, it will be posted on my website for my miniatures. And the link will be in the description below. So here you can see how it will look like. And what I will do now is to trim off any excess. Next, with the same trim, I will be applying it to the bottom half of the skirt using hot glue, securely pushing it down to the edge of the fabric, and then gluing the back sides in. Next, taking some lace or your trim of your choice, carefully apply it to the bottom half of your skirt. Next, measure your doll's arms and carefully adjust the jacket as needed. Then I applied the same trim throughout my costume for the doll. Next, I will apply the outside part of the skirt to the back side of this area. Using hot glue, I will secure it in place. Place a nice amount of glue on the top area and carefully push it down. Next, along the fold of the skirt, I will secure it to the side. So taking some hot glue, I applied it to the side of the skirt, and you will repeat it to the opposite side. And here you can see that I'm just finishing up the edge part here, making sure to secure the edges down onto the skirt. And here you can see how the skirt curves around the dress really nicely, and it also adds a bit of strength to the doll so it can stand freely. Now I will put the jacket onto the doll. By folding the doll's arm backwards, I will carefully insert the arms into the armhole of the jacket. Taking some glue, I will apply it to the center of the doll and push the corner flap onto it. Next, I will put another bead of glue and press the corner flap of the jacket onto the doll. For the sleeves of the dress, I will apply some lace that I had on hand and cover it completely around the doll's arm. And here is the finished dress. Our next step is to work on the sandals of the doll. I'm just using a scrap piece of cardboard. You want to use a nice thin, strong piece of cardboard. Now with a pen or pencil, go ahead and mark the back of the foot and the front and the two sides of the foot. Once you've got those guidelines in, you can go ahead and trace around the foot. Now I will just go in with my pen and finish the lines to connect them together. And that will be my front and back. Go ahead and carefully cut out the shoe of the doll. I'm using my embroidery scissors. So here we have our brown paint that I'll be using to paint my sandals. Notice that the front side of this cardboard is a glossy texture, and I will need to put several coats of this paint onto the cardboard in order for it to be more opaque. So here is my completed shoe, and I've just took some gloss varnish and put a coat of varnish on both the front and the back. So here is one of the sandals completed. You can see I just took a piece of ribbon about a 1/4 inch thick and I applied it to the foot and used it as a strap. Then I glued the bottom part of the sandal onto the doll's foot. So here we have the completed dress and sandals for our doll. And the next step will be gluing on the bead head. Take a very small amount of hot glue or glue of your choice and slide the bead head carefully down onto your chenille stem. Now in this area here, you can do a touch-up if you want. Now I will be taking some red wool that I have on hand and use it for the doll's head. Cut as much as you need for the length of hair that you want. I'm using about a 1.5 to 2 inch length of wool. And I will be pushing the doll's arm downward so I can work better. Now taking some hot glue, carefully run a strip along the front side of the head and turn the wool in about a 1/4 inch. Roll it around. So by turning in the wool a 1/4 inch and folding it under and gluing it on the head, you will have a nice seam along the front side of the doll's face. And here you can see what it looks like. Next, we will work on the back side of the head of the doll. Take some of the hot glue and glue along the bottom portion of the head. Carefully wrap the wool around the back side of the head . And carefully mold it and brush it with your fingers and hand. Now from here on, you can decide on the type of hairdo you would want to create for your doll. You may want to leave her hair long and straight, or you could do it like mine where I will be putting it up in a bun. This type of hairdo is a classic style for the Victorian age. So here I have some thread. It's brown thread and I just doubled it and tied a knot. And I'm going to be using this thread to tie the doll's hair into place. So right now I will be creating the bun for the hair. I'm taking my thread and I'm just looping it around and then tying a knot onto the area that I want. And you can see how it looks so far. Next, tightly pull the thread to secure it in place. Then what you'll want to do is to repeat this about 2 to 3 times more to make sure that the thread is nice and secure and the hair bun is in place. So here is the hair so far and how it's looking. So what I will do is create the top of the bun by carefully molding it with my fingers. And once I've gotten it where I want, I will take that thread, that same thread, and do a cross of one over the other and make a loop around the top part of the head, bringing it down slowly and securely, using it as a guide to bring it downward. And once I have brought it downward with the thread, I will go ahead and tie a knot. So once you have it where you want, you can securely tie it tightly to the doll. And here you have the hair completed. Now what you will want to do is you'll want to trim off the excess thread, and you'll want to shape the hair with your fine scissors. Snip off any excess. And you can style it with your fingers by just gently pressing it. Also for this doll, I will be adding some feathers into her hair. This feather is too big, so I'm going to be snipping it at the top part to make it smaller. So right about here, I will go ahead and push down the bottom part of the feathers and taking my scissors, snipping off a section. So now I'll be just using some hot glue and applying it to the doll's hair. So here you can see what it looks like with the feathers, and I think it came out really nicely. So you can add on as much trims or adornments as you need. I was going to add some beads and some rhinestones for earrings and necklaces, but it's up to you. You can take it as far as you want, and you can be as creative as you want. So this is a really great project for using up scraps of materials that you have on hand, and it doesn't require a lot of things for you to purchase, and you can just use what you have on hand. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more YouTube videos.